So, in the script to this video, I have the stage directions, opens jacket to reveal a Jason Lives t-shirt, and then says, I feel very strongly about this one. But unfortunately, my Jason Lives shirt, which is really cool, that I ordered online, has not come in time for me to record this video. So, I just don't have an opening. Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives fucking rules. It's amazing. It's a masterpiece. It is cinema. There are people in this world that might tell you that this film is bad or that it's only good for a Friday the 13th movie. They're lying. Do not listen to those people. They hate film, they hate art, and more importantly, they hate you because they are trying to rob you of your human right to watch and subsequently enjoy not just the greatest Friday the 13th movie, but the greatest possible Friday the 13th movie. Jason Lives is the single best film you could ever make about a hockey-masked puritanical murder zombie killing camp counselors, and I adore it. There are times, and those times are few and far between, that I'll describe a movie as perfect. And when I say a movie is perfect, I do not mean the dictionary definition of without flaws. No. Nobody means this. They might think that's what they're saying, but they're not. In moviedom, perfect is a vibe. A perfect movie is a movie so excellent at what it does that while you could say something like, oh, maybe the animation could be improved by modern techniques, or, oh, well, that effect looks a little cheesy, or, oh, I suppose technically this part is a plot hole. It does not matter. It is a work that literally transcends its minimal flaws. The sum of its parts are so good that you couldn't physically force yourself to care about any of its technical or narrative issues, if they can even be called that when they do not in fact interfere in the slightest with the film's quality, and in some instances, the bits that shouldn't work, a wonky effect here, a dated sequence there, they just add to the charm, showing up not as flaws, but as decorative qualities, fun anecdotes to gleefully dissect after viewing, not in a way to scorn or shame the movie for its terrible oversights in an otherwise flawless production, but just in a way to add to the delighted excitement of the years of discussion that comes from a movie that has well and truly charmed us. Perfect cares not for plot holes. How does Buzz Lightyear, who believes himself to not be a toy but an actual spaceman, know to play dead when human characters show up in Toy Story? Doesn't matter. Perfect movie. How does the villain's getaway ambulance materialize from a truck that earlier in the movie was shown to be empty in Die Hard? Doesn't matter. Perfect movie. How do Marty's parents not recognize him as the kid who got them together in their younger years at the end of Back to the Future? Does not matter. Perfect movie. You can feel a perfect movie. Perfect is a sensation, and you know when you've seen one because for a brief moment in your life, it just becomes your everything. It is all you want to talk about, all you can think of, all you want to share with others. It can, in an essence, become a quintessential part of who you are. The specific reasons you appreciate it potentially playing some part in informing what you look for and how you perceive art and stories, and even potentially connect with others who share that common interest for probably the rest of your life. Years, perhaps even decades later, a mere mention of that perfect film's name will be greeted with that little spark of joy in your chest, a wry smile, and a oh my god, we have to watch that, it's been forever. You know this feeling. You know your perfect films. And you know what? Everyone's perfect movies are different. There's some crossover, sure. There's barely a soul alive who doesn't love Toy Story, but the perfect film to one person might be trash to another. And on that note, I am very much aware this will not be an opinion shared by many people, but for me, Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives is a perfect movie. Hear me out. Jason Lives begins with returning character Tommy Jarvis, last seen succumbing to his mental demons and brandishing a knife above Chapter 5's final girl Pam before a cut to credits, being totally cool and chill now. Descent into Darkness storyline? What Descent into Darkness storyline? What do you mean we've been building this arc in Tommy for 2 whole movies? No, we haven't. Forget about it. It doesn't matter. Continuity has never been this series' strong point. After all, it only took them 1 whole film before they went, this dead drowned child is actually an alive, fully grown man because fuck it, we say so. And it never really bothered too many people then, so here they do well to just completely ignore whatever the hell that ending of 5 was and just put Tommy in the hero role. This time, played by Tom Matthews, who effortlessly brings a real James Dean heartthrob style leading presence to the role. Although initially long-term plans were to make Tommy the villain that would take over for Jason, and this conceptually was actually a potentially pretty cool idea on paper, one that could have had interesting things to say about trauma, cycles of violence, and how horror can be inherited through the generations we subject to it. Ultimately, they were really badly botching that storyline. After an already somewhat rocky start with 4, then led to the total mess of 5's underwhelming twist and subsequent confusing and messy ending that left not just the usual critics bad-mouthing the movie, but also the Friday the 13th fans. The producers took this bad reception and I would argue learned the wrong lessons, coming to the conclusion that fans didn't want a Friday the 13th without Jason, which, while somewhat true, I would argue it wasn't just the lack of Jason but the overall poor quality and incredibly underwhelming narrative payoff that really turned people off with 5. And that if the Tommy storyline had been handled well, fans might have been receptive to a new killer and the theme of inherited horror. It all turned out alright in the end though, as while bring back Jason wouldn't be my first point on the list of ways to fix the series after 5, they did just that. With Frank Mancuso Jr. hiring Tom McLaughlin to both write and direct, with the basic sentiment behind his recruitment being, do whatever the hell you want with the film, I don't care, so long as you bring Jason back. And it turned out they had tremendous success in doing exactly that. And by tremendous success, I mean I loved it. The box office numbers though were the worst they'd ever been for the franchise up to that point. Oh well. So how did they bring Jason back then? Well, to carry on with the story, Tommy is still taunted by the memory of the violent trauma he suffered at Jason's hands in part 4. And for his own peace of mind, he wants to be absolutely certain the dude is dead. He brings a friend from his days at the mental institution to Crystal Lake's graveyard, now renamed Forest Green in an insidious attempt to rebrand the area and wipe away its history of murders. While there, the two dig up Jason's corpse, and an angry Tommy mentally relives Jason's attack from his childhood on sight of his would-be killer's body, causing him to lash out by taking a metal fence post and repeatedly stabbing Jason with it before leaving it in the dead man's chest. Tommy then intends to burn the corpse to ash, but as he prepares to do so, the metal stick now protruding from his deceased friend acts as a lightning rod in the storm and attracts a sudden and thunderous bolt which brings Jason back from the grave. Yes, I know, lightning brings him back to life. Shut up. It's fucking awesome. Having now risen, Jason is once again immediately consumed by his seemingly overwhelming need to kill, and instantly makes short work of Tommy's friend. Tommy escapes with his life, but with a now undead and seemingly immortal killer from his past back with a vengeance, he can't just do a runner and let the monster run rampage. So he seeks out help. Making a beeline for the police station, Tommy calls for aid and is met with disinterest. The sheriff Mike Garris being familiar with Tommy's time in the institution and choosing to believe these tall tales of a resurfacing killer to either be a grand delusion or some ill-informed prank, and locking Tommy in jail for the night for his trouble. Meanwhile, Jason is getting back to his old habits and makes his presence known by killing 2 camp counselors, who are then reported missing at the sheriff's office the next day by a bunch of other counselors who were awaiting their arrival, including the sheriff's daughter Megan. While they're reporting this disappearance, a still imprisoned Tommy butts into the conversation, insisting their friends are likely dead, probable victims of the newly resurrected killer. This line of thinking is mostly dismissed by the sheriff and the teens, who believe that Jason is nothing more than an urban legend. But the story or perhaps just something about Tommy, resonates with Megan, who finds herself drawn to the hunky boy and his seemingly ridiculous ramblings. As Jason continues to pile up the bodies unnoticed, Tommy is eventually released by the police the next town over, only to immediately take the heat when the first casualty is found, as Sheriff Garris suspects he's acting out his delusions in an effort to prove they're real. So now, with the police on his tail, a monstrous killer wreaking carnage, the body count piling higher, and seemingly only the sheriff's daughter Megan being the one person who trusts him and wants to help, it's down to Tommy and Megan to dodge the cops, save the kids, and finally put an end to this revenant's reign of terror. Now, with this simple plot summary, you might think, I don't get it, what's so special about it? Besides the undead thing, is this not just Jason kills a bunch of people and one person has to defeat him for the 6th time? But oh, it is so much more than that. Jason Lives manages to be everything fans of the franchise expect. It ticks all the boxes of the Friday formula. It certainly has its fair share of creative kills and shots of Jason looking big and intimidating, but it's what it does within that formula that is so special. Every aspect of the basics of a Friday the 13th movie is expanded, refined, polished, and delivered with a pitch-perfect tone, the likes of which the series had never seen before and would never manage to replicate again, despite their best efforts. When the film opens with the gothic resurrection of Jason from a cemetery in an homage to the classic Universal monster horror films, and a tongue-in-cheek Bond-style title sequence follows, you know you're in for a good time. It immediately, through these visuals, lets you know this isn't going to be the kind of tone you're used to with these movies. Critics of the time would say that while the new tone was appreciated, it ultimately didn't stray far from being any other Friday the 13th flick. But I'd say that's a gross oversimplification. Yes, it's very much a Friday the 13th film, but this is not just a change in tone, it's a complete reimagining of what that means. It changed the game from tried and true slasher to a full-on big popcorn crowd-pleasing monster movie. Director and writer Tom McLaughlin, whose surname I really hope I'm pronouncing correctly, has stated the classic Universal flicks were a huge inspiration on his filmmaking here, and it shows. The hugely escapist horror entertainment of then is recaptured to glorious execution. Jason is no longer just a murderer. He's an entity not of this world. His undead status, his elaborate, practical, makeup-heavy zombie-like appearance, his sudden super strength, his immunity to bullets. This reimagining is something that would become synonymous with the character in future films, but at the time of this movie's release, this was a bold new direction, executed to perfection by C.J. Graham, who gives the character a kind of theatrical gravitas he never had prior. You could not have predicted a Jason that would snugly fit next to Dracula or the Mummy or Gilman as a kind of modern retelling of the classic monster myth if you'd only watched the early movies and didn't already know that's what was coming. To say it's just a change in tone completely undersells it. Compare this to Friday the 13th 5 and it's night and day. It's not just that they're drastically different movies in terms of quality, it's that they're drastically different movies, period. This one's a real film with real characters and fully realised goals, motivations and arcs. It has an incredible identity filled with bold, cinematic and stylised shots. It's not a one-track vehicle to slaughter. It has action sequences, car chases, lightning bolts, a huge spectacle of an ending. It's got a real hero surrounded by real personalities. It has these absolutely banging rock song contributions created by Alice Cooper to complement Harry Manfredini's classic score that helps carve out the film's unique identity. It uses clever, self-referential humour long before that was a popular thing. I mean, this predates the meta deconstructions of Scream by 10 years, and was even in fact a huge influence for that film's writer. It's also genuinely hilarious. The whole thing has real tongue-in-cheek style, slightly dark sense of humour. The first time I watched it, this line from one of Jason's potential victims cracked me up to no end.
Real dead meat.
So, what were you gonna be when you grew up?
This is a film that doesn't feel factory assembled. It actually feels like a wholly unique director's vision. I'd argue its only drawback is that it's maybe too good at developing characters, because when it comes time to raise the stakes with some has to be included Jason slashing, you have genuine sympathy for those killed. Especially these two camp counselors. I love these guys. They were so nice. On the flip side though, having actual empathy for the human cast for once really gives you reason to root against Jason, which as Friday fans will tell you, isn't often the case. Honestly, there's not much more I can say about it. It's just a perfect movie for me. It captures all of the escapist entertainment that a Friday the 13th is good for, the hulking murderer, the creative kills, and then once it's made sure to tick those boxes, it just absolutely goes to town on everything else. It's weird that this is probably going to be the shortest Friday video for the film that I care about the most, but any further commentary on my part would just be non-stop incessant gushing. It's one of those movies I just get really excited about. Every mention of its name triggers a cavalcade of, oh, remember the smiley face bit? Oh man, remember the shot where he's on the top of the ambulance? Oh, remember the crash zooms into his reveal? Oh, what about those two kids? Oh, what about the ending with the fire? Oh man, I need to listen to Man Behind the Mask again. It's such a tune. Does it have flaws? Yeah, probably. Maybe it's overly long. Maybe some of the characters who need to be killed to tick the Friday the 13th high kill count box actually hurt the film and would have been better off surviving. But like I say, perfect in movies is a vibe. And Jason Lives is so my vibe. Thanks again for watching. As always, remember to subscribe to my OnlyDans at the red button below, like if you enjoyed the video, comment with your thoughts, and if you're really liking this, consider becoming a patron at the link below for some cool perks and exclusives. Also make sure to hit the bell icon after subscribing to be notified when the next Wholesome Halloween episode goes live tomorrow, where we'll be looking at the time Jason fought a telekinetic psychic? No, I'm not making that up. It's Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. I've been Dan Drambles, you're watching Wholesome Halloween 2/a season, and I'll see you tomorrow.